Oh yeah.
Wow.
Wait, let's like
Low key
good lighting. Hey guys, it's Amy from Model and Maker, and we are here today with Alexa Curtis. For those of you who don't know her, Alexa is one of my really good friends. We met after she hosted an event in Boston, and she is an amazing person, really great entrepreneur. And so I thought we would start by asking her a few questions on like entrepreneurship and kind of like how you got started and like what inspired you. So why don't you take it away by telling us like how you got started?
And she's gonna be on my podcast, so she'll also link that below. So I started a Life in the Fashion Lane back in 2011 because I wanted really a platform just to kind of help other young people follow their dreams and escape their, their small towns. So over the past few years have really just figured out how to make it into like a full-time platform so that I didn't have to go to college and really can do it full-time. So that's what I do. So I've started as fashion and now it's kind of transferred to more lifestyle for teens. So I go to you for all the fashion stuff and I do not want to do anything with fashion anymore.
And then so over like the past years that you've been doing it, like what do you think are, I don't know, like the 3 to 5 most important things that you've learned about, I don't know, like blogging, being an entrepreneur?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think the first thing I would say that I've learned is that there's no pain in asking for money. I think people are so scared all the time of like asking brands or anything for money, and if you think that you have something to bring to the table, it's like, Kim Kardashian would never go into a deal without asking for money. So I think not being afraid to ask for money, not being afraid of the word no, because so many times I've pitched something or something has been pitched or whatever, or opportunities have come up and things always say, people always say no and then they always come back around a lot of times. I feel like not getting caught up. I think we're talking a lot about like being authentic, not getting caught up with like other people and like what they're doing, because like everybody's doing their own thing and sometimes people don't have the best like authentic message, but trying not to get caught up with that.
What do you think, like, so when you started doing like your blog and everything, what was your objective and like what was your goal out of it? Like what did you want to do with it?
Well, I had no goal. I feel like that's why, I don't know, I don't want to say I'm successful, but I feel like that's why I have had some success with this, is because I didn't have an intention. Like, if I had started now, and I feel like everybody who starts now needs to make a career out of it, because not a lot of people have time to do this type of stuff and have a full-time job. So I think to be able to grow up and like just come into myself already having this has like enabled me to see things from a different perspective and like how I think I pitch myself and sell myself too, just because I had no expectations. So now that like now it's like okay to have expectations because you kind of like prove yourself, but I think that was like I had no expectations. I don't know why.
Next to each other.
All right. I like this. It could be like a blooper.
Also, speaking of like pitching yourself and like making money, what is the best way to pitch yourself?
It goes into a pitch should just be all the substance around what you can give this brand or what you can give this company. And even if you're asking for free clothing, it's like, what are they going to get in return? So, for somebody who doesn't have tons and tons of followers, I would say it's still the same thing. And like maybe you even have, 1,000 followers. And if a brand says no, like just accept that that's fine. But even if they, if they say yes or they want more information, like, maybe you get a lot of views on Snapchat or you have a lot of interaction on the picture. And I think like micro influencers are quote unquote like the next big thing. That's what people say. So I would say when you're putting stuff in a pitch is really just making sure that like the numbers and everything are there for what you're asking for. Because, people are getting pitched all the time. So people get like bored and annoyed if you're like, hi, like I want to just review your clothing. And they're like, okay, like, well, what else? Like, what am I getting out of it? So I just think keeping like an open mind on that is really important. But obviously, personalize what they're getting out of it from that side. But I mean, it really all comes down to numbers and it's like all the games. So it's like, I mean, if you don't have tons and tons of followers, like you're battling the people who are pitching those brands who do. So again, it's just making it like, really believing in yourself, and people can see when you believe in yourself. And I think if you're forward about asking for money, I think brands definitely are like, oh, okay, like she thinks she deserves to be asking for money, because like a lot of people are scared to ask for money. So I think I would definitely say like if you think you should be paid, then like you need to include that as the front and center of your pitch.
Okay. And then speaking of money, how would you say, like, how do you make money? Like, how do you ask for money? And then how do you kind of include that in a pitch? Just like for people who haven't done this before, like totally new to this, like how do you do that?
So personally, how I make money is I make money from like sponsored posts, and then as well, so I do a lot of different TV segments. So brands will kind of basically compensate me to talk about them and incorporate them, and you know, just really put them across all of my social channels and include them in these segments. But when I was first starting, I remember when I first started asking for money, I think that I had like, I mean, I would say like $50 or something, like something as little as possible, because I feel like even if you've never asked for money before and you have 100,000 followers, like you have to get used to asking for money. And it's just such, it's like, it's not like you're in a corporate office where like you have to go to your boss and be like, I need a pay raise. So it takes used to like, you know, writing like, I want to be paid via an email or like for an Instagram post. So I think like starting small, and like even if you do have tons of followers, like still start small. Like I understand you want to be paid more, but like again, you need to like work your way up and have like proof that like this has helped brands in the past. So I would say when it comes to a pitch, usually I'll like include, whether it's like if it's like a longer pitch on like a PowerPoint, you know, I mean, you always put the payment stuff like in the middle or the last slide, like put all the important stuff at the beginning. Like, you know, it's like writing an article, like get a reader hooked, get the brand hooked. And then if it's just like an email, I'll usually explain at the beginning, say it's like, I was pitching like my teen gift guide the other day. So, you know, the first paragraph is like, I'm doing a gift guide, here's my social channels, here's what page views I get, the cost to participate is $100. And then that's how I'll say it. And then you just say, let me know if you want to set up a call and if you need more info. And it's kind of the same with like a PowerPoint too, if you're like, you know, wanting to do like a longer portion, but like you still have to be like, you know, here's the cost to, I usually say the cost to participate, or you would say like what I'm looking for sponsorship is a month's worth of clothing or $500. So yeah, that's probably how I would say I'd go about it.
Okay, that's really well said.
I hope I said that okay.
You did. I feel like it was very like clear and concise. Also, so I know you were telling me that a lot of people come to you for advice and questions. How do you personally make money? Like what kind of avenues do you go through to do that?
Well, I'm trying to get out of TV as much as I can, to focus more on like my podcast and my nonprofit, but that's definitely like a side hustle, those two things. So how I make money is, I mean, I'm constantly pitching brands. Like I found like 300 teen brands the other day that I pitched for this gift guide, and I think like 8 or 10 of them came back, which was awesome, and said yes. But that's what I think about it too. Like sometimes I'll try and do like bigger projects. Like I'm like putting a team gift guide together. So then, you know, like sometimes I know a lot of startup brands do not have hundreds and hundreds of dollars. So I'd say, you know, 10 brands, $150 each. That's more brands, it's more people to pitch, but that's easier to sell. $150 is nothing for, you know, a brand, a consumer brand. So it's easier to sell than like if I was to go to one brand and be like, I want to do a sponsored post for $800. So I would definitely say like I'm always finding different brands, and then I get a lot of brands too that like approach me. I get a lot of emails about like sponsored links and posts for like $30, and at the beginning I would say like yes to that, and now I'm just like, that's literally like no, like I'm not gonna do that. So I think it's also like knowing your worth now. So if somebody's like, what do you charge for a sponsored post? I personally charge $200, so I'll reply and be like $200, and if they're like our budget is $30, then I'm like, I mean, I don't care.
You know
I know that sounds really terrible, but I mean,
you've done it for so long though.
I know, that's why I'm like,
just like a pro.
No, not at all. But I mean, it's like $30. But like again, when I was starting, I was like every other thing was like that's the biggest thing in the world is $30. So yeah, so I'd say between pitching all the time, definitely like trying to put bundle deals together too. Like I think it's can definitely help people who are starting out to like they're approaching a brand, be like, I can do one Instagram post every other week. And one blog post a month for $300, because that like can definitely, I feel like, get a brand to see the return.
Speaking of making money, how do you get sponsorships, and like how do you kind of like work with them and like kind of like start that?
Do you mean like bigger ones or just like sponsorships in general?
Both.
So a lot of the stuff that I do is usually like one-off things, so I don't do as much of the bundle things. But unless I like go and pitch, like I pitched, I know I was telling you in the last video, I pitched a company that was like a social media mental health app. I give them like 3 different prices, and I pitched which is the one that I wanted, which is like $3,000 a month. Or like we definitely talked for like a few weeks about it, and they just wanted to know like all about the numbers, like constantly, like what am I getting in return for this? What am I getting in return? Basically, I would say that it's the same like setup for a pitch. You know, when I like first pitched British Air, I like pitched them this terrible email that I literally was like, hi, I'm a 14-year-old blogger. Like, I want to go to London Fashion Week. Like, I think I could give you guys some publicity. That's literally what I said in that email. Now they're like I think a lot of these companies are getting pitched so often that they have like forms and like, it's like a much like more intense process to pitch nowadays. But again, it's just like, you know, pitching them whether you want to be paid or whether you get something for free, like what are they getting out of it? So even when I pitched British Airways when I was like 14, it was still like including in that, I remember like so clearly, she was like, really, I got so much experience pitching a huge corporate brand like that, because she was like, what am I getting out of it? Like, how many social posts are you going to do? So if you're asking for money too, I mean, you have to be like, you know, give them exactly what you're getting. And then also I think contracts can be really important, because it's so like, I've gotten screwed over so many times. I know like a lot of people get screwed over. I mean, it's an industry, it's a business industry. So if you're getting paid something and they don't want to pay you up front, then always having like a standard contract that can just be like, you're getting paid after 30 days. And then I have like an actual notebook where like I write down everything I'm owed all the time, because otherwise I'll forget, and then it'll be like 5 months and you'd be like, oh my god, I didn't even receive that check. So constantly following up with people to get your money is like very important.
I feel like you're like the queen of following up. I feel like I always
I'm super annoying.
No, but I feel like you have to be, and I think that's like why you are doing what you are today. Like you were saying, like KTLA is now like working with Alexa, and like you've been like talking with
I call her, I mean, I think if you call somebody, I even called somebody the otother day, it was like an older woman, because a lot of these companies, like the people who do the PR are like older people, and she was like, oh my god, this is so crazy, like I appreciate you calling me, I haven't been on my email as much, like I don't hear like millennials, I don't even know if I'm a millennial, whatever, Gen Z, like they never pick up the phone, and I was like, I always pick up the phone. I've been texting her every day since I'm trying to get her to sponsor a like new podcast art that I want. So I have been like texting her every day, and like you think you're being annoying, but like you get to a point where like even when if you're pitching TV, I mean that's the worst thing to pitch, but like I mean constantly following up, and it's not, I mean there was one producer at Wendy Williams that I just kept following up, because unless you say no to me, I'm gonna assume you're not reading my emails. So I kept following up, and I got a very nasty voicemail that was like, Alexa, if we're interested, like I'll call you. And I was like, I didn't reply, but I was like, couldn't you have just sent me the email? That was just like, not right now. Like I didn't need a nasty like voicemail on a Friday night. But for the most part, when you're pitching things, like people are nicer than that. And they'll just like tell you if they're not interested if you know, follow up.
But I feel like that's also good to know, because I feel like as someone who's like, I feel like I'm still learning, and I'm like learning from Alexa, that I'm always like intimidated. I'm like, okay, like what if I'm being annoying? But like
the thing is, what it's like, I mean, when you're like dating and you want to know if somebody wants to go out on a date, it's like, it's the same kind of like game. But in this game, like it's all on your side. So it's not like you're waiting for like a guy or a girl to reply to your text. You're waiting for somebody you probably never met to say something. They have no clue who, like what you're doing, who you are. So for the most part, like I'm just like, what? I mean, what are they gonna say? No, and they're gonna go, what? Talk to who about you? Like everybody's doing their, like it's all everybody's own business. So like they're on to the next thing. That's how I think of it. I
think that's a great way to think about it, and I feel like talking to you about this always makes me like inspired and like eager to go and ask, because I'm like, what do I have to lose? Like,
exactly.
Okay, no, on to the next one. Okay, so I know you're saying a lot about like no being a huge part of this. How do you deal with no, and then how do you recommend other people deal with kind of like being told no too?
Honestly, I get so many no's in a day that you just like you kind of get used to it. I would say it's more hurtful when somebody replies no because they think that you're not able to give them what you're asking. So like when I had pitched that company and they replied and were like, after like weeks of back and forth, them asking me so many questions, and they sent me like a very long email that was like, you know, we love what you're doing and we think you're gonna do huge things, but like we don't think your numbers right now are where we want them to be for this kind of partnership, whatever. That to me is like the most frustrating thing. But it's also better, I think, than like somebody saying no, because you have to think of it as like, I'm like, all right, well in a few months from now, like I'll be at the next level and I could go back to them or find a different brand. So I would say, I mean, especially if you're first starting out, like I don't know, I think if you really know who your audience is, who you're trying to target, I think knowing that can really help you figure out what brands specifically you should be pitching. And like, I mean, you have to know like I never pitch massive brands. Like I don't pitch TJ Maxx, I don't pitch Forever 21, I don't pitch ASOS, because like I mean, like, again, I don't think I'm I'm not gonna say I'm not good enough, but like they're not gonna, like, there's no point in replying. Oh, I have pitched Forever 21 one time. They sent me a gift card. But yes, besides that, I mean, so I would say, I mean, it's the same in life. I mean, if like you ask your mom for money and she says no, you're like, oh, like, you suck, I'm on to the next thing. Like, you know what I mean? So it's the same with like a brand. If they say no, I mean, I would never, the worst thing you can ever do is reply and be like, fuck you, or like say something mean, or like, why are you saying no? But sometimes if you're like, sometimes even when I'm pitching like celebrity podcasts, like for my podcast to get celebrities on, and if their manager, agent, or whatever replies and says like, no, she's not available, I'll always reply and be like, okay, you know, is there like a specific reason, or can you let me know what type of press she's looking for? Like, that's always good to do. But otherwise, a lot of times if somebody says no back, like, I'll just delete the email. Or I have a folder of emails that are like people who have said no, or like come circle back to me in the new year, or like a new quarter or something, and like then I'll always like follow back up when they say to.
Okay, so it sounds like the most important thing, so I feel like what you guys should take away is like, don't take no as like this finite thing. Take it and kind of like run with it and be like, there's always room for future collaborations. I just feel like talking to you always are like, I don't know, really great about that. And then, okay, last question I want to end on is, what are the most important things that you think an entrepreneur or like someone needs to know before they start like an entrepreneurial venture, or just kind of like starting a business for themselves?
It's gonna change your life for the better and the worse. And I think you just have to be so like, it's constantly like banging on doors, breaking down doors. Like there's so many times too where you just feel like you're going crazy. And I mean, obviously there's, you know, a higher percentage of people who work like normal corporate regular jobs than run their own business. So there's so many times, even now, where I feel so isolated. I feel like I have nobody. Even like I obviously have friends and stuff like that, but like you have nobody who like knows what it's like. So it's not like, you know, I don't have, most of my friends are not entrepreneurs. So knowing that like if you get into this, that like you have to really rely on yourself. Because when you have, you know, good days and when you have bad days, like, you know, the people you want to call and stuff, they're not like, they're going to support you and whatnot, but they're not always going to be able to be like, here's what you do next. So I think like that's always something I wish I had done, was like find a mentor when I was younger. Because I think that like if I had been able to find somebody that had been able to be like, here's what you do now, that would have just like maybe helped me progress a little bit quicker. But I think also the fact that I didn't have anybody just shows that like you literally can do this. Like you don't need anybody's help. I don't know, I mean, what have you found like from, you know, taking on even like having an Instagram page? Just like it's constantly stressful because I feel like you have to post this day, and like you want to post this hours, and like that's stressful just in itself.
I feel like the things to think about, and like I'm gonna approach something a different way. I think you need to be persistent. I think you need to be organized. I think you need to be dedicated and passionate. I think it needs to make you happy, because like it can totally be, I'm like already stressing. I like didn't post the other day and I'm like, I've been MIA, but like I don't know, I think also take that with a grain of salt too, because it's like, okay, like your personal life takes priority to that, but I think just like, be organized, constantly be learning, always read, always be up on the latest things.
And also like make sure to sleep, make sure to like eat well. Like I know that sounds stupid, but like I've learned that the hard way, just like not sleeping, not eating well, like traveling too much. It's like, you know, it's like nothing's gonna happen if you like just relax. Having like a really good balance too between like knowing what days you take off, or knowing what you need to do every day to like not go crazy. Because I mean, if you're starting a company, it's like you're all the hours, it's all like your hours. You don't get to leave at 5 p.m. You might not even start your day until 5 p.m. So it's like understanding too that it's like an adjustment process if you're coming from something more like standard corporate. That's something totally different.
So guys, speaking of that, if you want more videos or want to learn more, or kind of like follow Alexa, you can reach her on Instagram at Alexa Curtis. You can check out her website, which is A Life in the Fashion Lane. Also, you can check out her nonprofit company called Mint. Like, I can't believe that you started a nonprofit. Like, that's incredible. You're just killing it. Is there anything else that I left out? How people can like find you, reach you, get in touch with you?
No, but listen to the episode that'll come out with Amy on This Is Life Unfiltered, which is my podcast, which you can find on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Stitcher, which is another podcast app. Hopefully within the next few weeks.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for sitting down. Hopefully we can do this again with some more exciting people, and then maybe another time with you on a different topic. But thank you guys so much for tuning in, and thank you for sitting with me, Alexa.
Yes. Oh my God, I love you so much.
We did it. We did it.